sounds a bit soft. Okay, can everyone else hear me?
I can hear you.
Yep, everyone else is good? Okay, cool. Yep, see, I'm on a different computer. Yep, here's headphones. Excellent. I'll put these in and we'll see if that works any better. So my name is Nicole Dennis and I'm here to share a breakthrough with you that can change your life. ASEA products, you know, have really impacted me in a lot of ways. Like I had fatigue issues for many, many years before I used ASEA products. And after I used ASEA, they completely resolved. So that was pretty amazing. So tonight, I'm really grateful that we have a very special guest, Debbie Johns, and Debbie is going to be sharing with us her amazing story of the experiences that she has had and her son has had using the redox technology. So before we get started, I invite you, if you're here as a guest, to think about a few questions to get in touch with, you know, maybe what you're looking for in your life and how ASEA can provide that. So do you have a health challenge or know someone who has a health challenge that needs help? Would you like to maybe reduce the visible signs of aging? I don't know about you, but I definitely always could do with a few less wrinkles. Do you need more energy to be able to do the things that you love? What is going on with my screen? It's gone all weird. Are you an athlete who's looking for improved performance, or perhaps you're looking for more time and money freedom or a better lifestyle? So ASEA is able to offer you the benefits in all of these areas. So the health of people today in society as a large, maybe not the people on this call, is not looking really fantastic. Autoimmune diseases are on the rise, the prevalence increasing even among children. Inflammation is on the rise, which is causing a whole host of health issues for people. Heart disease is the underlying cause of 1 in 3 deaths in the United States, and Australian statistics are very similar. This one's really interesting. Digestive issues are on the rise. So you probably have a lot of friends and family that are you can't hear me very well. This is why I don't like using other people. Okay. Can you hear me now? No?
I can.
No, you can't hear me very well. Becky can hear me?
That's good,
Debbie,
Nicole,
can you
for
hear
me.
me?
I can hear you really
That's
well.
much better, Nicole.
Yes.
Much better.
Okay, so Elizabeth, you might need to turn your sound up if you can't hear me. All right, we'll see how this goes. Does anyone, I don't know if anyone else has issues when they use other people's computers. I really always have troubles. So, and almost 80% of women have some form of hormone issue, and you know, diabetes is one of the major issues with hormone imbalance as well. So it does cause, you know, health is not looking good. So several years ago, scientists made an incredible discovery. They identified molecules that are natively produced inside of our body that help our cells repair and regenerate. Once they discovered this, they did a lot of research and development into figuring out how to produce these molecules outside of the body, and so that you could supplement your body's natural supply. And the result is something that helps our cells work better. And when our cells work better, everything works better. Your diet and exercise efforts become more productive. Nutritional supplementation works better. You feel better. You look better. You sleep better. And you have more energy, which is definitely what happens for me when I started using this redox technology. So now that's enough from me. I want to share, and sorry for the bit of the shaky start with the technology there. I want to hear from our special guest, the amazing Debbie Johns.
Oh.
So I've known Debbie for quite a few years, and we actually reconnected through the redox, which was pretty amazing.
Yeah,
so
awesome.
yeah, it was really, really great to reconnect with Debbie. So Debbie, tell us a little bit about what was going on in your life before you started ASEA. Like, what was happening for you and your son?
Yeah, thanks, Nicole. Thanks for letting me share my story tonight too. What was happening, my son was 13 at the time, and basically from a newborn, or maybe a few weeks afterwards, literally, he's always had rashes coming up, like flare-ups, itchy rashes, itchiness all over his body, itchy eyes. He's always rubbing his eyes, rubbing just everywhere. And it was always felt very, like it would always just come up all the time. Like we would manage it through food, through environment, through all sorts of, we would be trying everything from all different angles. I tried natural things, chemical things, everything, but we got into this cycle. We'd have good periods, not so good periods. And then when last year it was beginning of last year, we'd had a couple of years where things were getting worse and not really better, because often people will say to you, oh, he'll grow out of it. But at 13, he was not growing out of his itchy skin. And, you know, he'd had a whole childhood of it impacting him, you know, sleepless nights, bloodied sheets, time off school, feeling different to other kids. Like, it's been a rough ride, to be honest, a really rough ride for him and for me.
Yeah.
And the itch was something that was always there for him, just this constant itch somewhere, his head, his, you know, just everywhere all the time.
And he had issues with his eyes too, right?
Yeah, definitely. It was sort of like it was itchy eyes. Like he'd have like rashes on his eyelids, itchy eyes. He's always rubbing his eyes like this all the time. Rashes coming up, you know, or you might not have a rash, might come down, and then his eyes would be irritated and inflamed. Not just slightly irritated. They'd be inflamed and really uncomfortable and sore. Yeah.
And so what sorts of things did you try previous to ASEA? Because obviously it's like was a pretty issue for you.
Yeah, look, I really felt like we'd exhausted every avenue. Like we always went with like food management. So we've been to allergists. I'd been to like naturopaths, integrative doctors. I'd done elimination diets. He'd been dairy-free his whole life, gluten-free periods of time. I'd removed artificial additives out of his diet. I would monitor natural food chemicals like salicylates in food, but he'd respond to amines and histamines in food. He could have something that was natural and should be good for you, but it would make him itchy and flary for days on end. He'd also and the wind could blow the wrong way, I would often think, and it would trigger something as well. So I tried, you know, acupuncture, kinesiology, naturopaths, you name it. I'd swing from one thing to another over, you know, it's a long time, 13 years. You try a lot of things and a lot of ointments and allergists and skin prick tests and blood tests and you name it. I felt like we'd gone through the armory of the toolkit was empty.
Yeah. And so what made you, because you tried so many things and, you know, you had like a breakthrough around his health, what made you decide to try the redox?
What's funny, a friend introduced me to it, and at first I wasn't really, I was a bit skeptical, to be honest, because you try a lot of things and you don't get results, or you get limited results. And so when my friend first introduced me to it, you know, I tried to be open, but I didn't buy anything when I first saw it. I was like, I'll see. I'm not sure I didn't really understand it. Like, it was a bit out there. And so I really didn't do anything after she first showed it to me. And it wasn't till probably, I don't know, a few weeks later, he came home. The universe sort of worked in my favor, and he came home from school really burnt. And I thought, I might sort of made me make a decision. I thought, I better try some of that gel. And then it was after that, then I thought, well, I've sort of opened the door to it now. I'll get it properly and start using it.
Yeah. And so what happens? What benefits did he experience, and like how long did it take? What was the process of what he went through? And
like his story, it's like 3 steps to his journey with what happened. So when I started trying it, it was late February of last year, and at that point in time he'd been on this really this cycle of steroid creams and antibiotics like 3 years previous that we just couldn't get off, and we kept tapering it, trying to taper off those things. That he'd flare up, we'd be back on it. And so I thought that was part of my reasoning too at that point. Once I had it, I've got nothing to lose really, so let's try it. So I kept everything else the same, like moisturizing and the other ointments that the doctor had prescribed, and I just added in the gel. And it was literally about a month or so of using it that his rash improved significantly. And the biggest achievement and thrill for me was that we transitioned him off steroid cream, because I never ever wanted him to be on it. I'm this naturally inclined, holistic person, and here I am putting this cream that I didn't want to be putting on him, but sometimes you feel like you've got no other choice. So I was really happy at that point that we'd transitioned off that ointment, and we were using the gel on his skin, so that was awesome. He still did have some minor rashes come and go, but I wasn't worried. Like, I was still so happy because they were never what they were. Like, they weren't infected, they were under control. you could still see them, but from where we'd been, I felt we'd come a long way in a really short period of time. So the second part of the story, so I'm doing the gel on his skin, still moisturising, and then he'd been seeing an ophthalmologist for 7 years due to the inflammation in his eyes. So mid-year, what would happen is we got to the point where other things weren't working, and he had to go on immunosuppressant ointment mid-year and work up towards the spring season. And our appointment was coming up, and because I'd been like looking at, reading other people's stories, I thought, look, I might try the liquid in his eyes as eye drops. And I had about 8 or 9 weeks before this appointment, and I knew I had to see what was possible. So I was really diligent, and I used eye drops in his eyes, a gel around his eyelids. And we got to that appointment, and it still, could make me tear up really easily, because we got to that appointment and he said to me, minimal to no allergic activity. You don't, no more ointment. You don't need to come back. And that was after 7 years of going to the same doctor who'd even had to do surgery on him to like a cortisone injection 7 years before. So it was a huge deal for us. I was like, I think I walked out of there in shock, really. Yeah. So at that point then, I'm more than thrilled. I'm happy, so that his eyes are being managed, his skin's pretty good. And then it came to about September, an opening just came up that he would be willing to take the liquid. And I thought, I'll just get him to start the liquid, because his rash, though good, was still visible. And I felt bad for him. I'd watch him walk into school and you could see the rash on his legs still, and he still had the itch happening. So then what happened then, I got him onto the liquid, and 3-4 weeks later, I know it still brings tears to my eyes, to be quite honest. After about 3 or 4 weeks, I remember just looking at his skin. I think I even grabbed his elbow and his arm and looked at it, and his skin tone had changed, and his rash on his legs literally just faded, Nick. It just literally just faded. And the skin tone on his arm, it was just like normal skin. Usually kids like him don't have soft textured skin. It's hard to explain, but people who know what I'm talking about know what it's like. It's hard and it's usually rough to feel, but his skin tone had changed. So that took about 3 or 4 weeks on the liquid. So that got us to October. So the whole year we had sort of success after success after success. And the huge thing for him at that point was the itch went.
That's amazing.
Yeah, because that's really it really impacts someone's quality of life, and it's impacting his quality of life. And every day for a while, when I really realised what had happened, because it had been a funny time with some things going on, and when I really realised, wow, his rash is gone, I don't think I could believe it. I kept thinking it was going to come back, and I kept asking him, "How's your itch? How's your itch?" I don't do it anymore. And he goes, "No itch, mum. No itch, mum." So it was wonderful, really wonderful.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's so incredible.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I know, I reckon.
That's really amazing. So how much were you using? So obviously you're using the gel on him. Were you using it like a couple of times a day, or?
Yeah, at the beginning, I used it a lot more. So at the beginning, I would probably do it 2 or 3 times a day. And every time I did it, I would still apply moisturizer a few minutes afterwards. So I'd sort of, it's probably 2 or 3 times a day for that first period of time. And then slowly it just become twice a day. What was really amazing to me, and still is now, that's how much gel I was using. I was still moisturising all year. And when he had the success with the liquid, I stopped doing the moisturiser, and I haven't moisturised him since. And that's a huge thing for his type of skin. Usually they say lather on the moisturiser. And since then, I've not had to use any moisturiser at all.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So that's been fantastic. So that's how much the gel. So the gel then, and now today, the gel I use as a spot treatment, really. If he gets little bits here and there, I don't do that anymore. It's just the liquid, which is helping him manage his skin. And eye drops wise too, I just use it when needed, and maybe some gel around the eyes. It's just wonderful.
That's amazing. So
it sort of keeps changing as things heal and change. I think that my dosages have just moved with that.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask, how has it made a difference in your life and your family's life? What things can you do now that you couldn't do before? Because I know you've shared a bit about that, you know, sort of restrictions around Jeremy's diet and all sorts of things. So how's that it's opened things up for you?
What I didn't expect, like I'm always focused on the skin, what I didn't expect was how it would allow him to eat normally, to be honest. Because up until this point we had, and for my stress levels too, you can imagine when someone, you know, they're itchy, so you start thinking, you know, is it something he ate 3 days ago? Is it the wind blew the wrong way causing him to have a reaction? Is it some dust I didn't clean up, guilty mum stuff? You know, it was always, my mind was always ticking all the time. So with this, like once his rash cleared, I suddenly felt like we even had a little joke between us, and I'd say to him, let's push this, let's see how far we can go. So by pushing it, I mean, but we'd be adding in different foods. Like a big deal for us, I made some pasta from like tomato based pasta sauce, which a child like Jeremy could never have without a huge flare up. So I was able to, he didn't really like it that much, but he still ate it and no flare up, you know, it's those things. So I've been able to add in a lot more nutritious food into his whole diet, and perhaps a bit more to junk food than we used to, which is all, you know, it all balances out. But it's really helped us so much to make him feel sort of normal in that sense.
So I guess you don't have to worry when he's going to other kids' houses and parties and stuff like that so much now.
Yeah, exactly. And for peace of mind, like the peace of mind it's brought me, like, you know, when eyes flare up and you feel in the past I'd feel out of control because your only option was this really strong suppressant ointment. And even then it didn't, you know, it did what it had to do, but it wasn't great. Whereas now I don't panic. I just, you know, get the drops out, get some gel out, and we're good. And so it's given me huge peace of mind. Huge. I can't even express how much, really. I don't think I'm doing it justice, how much it's changed our lives. It's transformed it.
Yeah, that's amazing. So you have anything you would like want to say to people who are considering giving these products a go for themselves, giving the redox a
Absolutely. I'm so skeptical. Like I am a skeptic first before I'm anything else. And even knowing, like I knew you were, you know, behind the business as well, Nick, and I knew you and I trusted you, and I was still skeptical about the product to a point. And it's not that I doubted it, but I wasn't sure. It was unknown. It was like the unknown factor. And I just, so my advice would be just give it a go and give it time to work, because you know, you just don't know what's possible till you start using it. And you just sometimes don't even, when I started nearly a year ago, I had no idea the impact it would have. I had no idea. And imagine if I'd just tried a bit of the gel at the beginning and then didn't bother trying it on his eyes, you know, and then if that didn't progress then to making him, you know, more, as I became more comfortable around the product, then I let him use more of it, I guess. And then we've had success after success. I'd hate to think I'd stop at that first success and not have had the other two. So I'd say just give it a go, everyone.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you like kept connecting in with people that have been using the redox for a while, right? And getting advice and things like that off them.
Absolutely. In the Renew with Redox group, I just love reading the testimonials because it sort of expands your knowledge of how it could work. And it built my belief, I guess, over time, which is from reading those stories that gave me the confidence to try it in his eyes. Because I've read so many amazing stories and I thought, well, I've got really nothing to lose. Like, so that was fantastic just to stay plugged in there. It really helped a lot.
Awesome. That's fantastic. Well, thank you so much for giving up your time, Debbie, to share with everyone. Does anyone have a quick question for Debbie? Like if anyone has a question, you can just unmute yourself and we'll take a couple of questions for Debbie. Oh, Stuart has a question.
Hi, Debbie. Thank you for sharing.
Hi, Stuart. You're welcome. Nice to meet you.
How are you?
Good.
Nice to meet you too. So I have a question. I myself have psoriasis, and I'm just curious. I also have another lady who's an associate of mine, and she's actually, Nicole, you spoke to her last week. She's got 95% eczema, and I know that she's had it for quite a while, and I know that she gets itchy, she gets pain, and it's quite chronic for her. So I'm just curious to know. I'm curious to know more about your little boy and what I know. I've heard that he had an itch, but what kind of was it like psoriasis? Were there lesions? Was it flaky? Was it dry?
Yeah, a bit. It was a bit of. It wasn't psoriasis. It's not psoriasis. It was just what you said before, the itchy rash. And he would have open wounds, typically in his joints. He'd have the open wounds. It would easily then flare into infection. He'd have itchy scalp. It was always different. Like, it's changed. So it was always morphing into something, because I think he's often then having withdrawals from steroid creams as well, which is a whole other impact. So it would be a bit of all of it at times.
Yeah, because I'm currently reassuring her, because she's not giving up, but she was reducing her redox, and she ordered 2 cases, and I just said, because I'm going to double my dose, because I just know my body needs that. And I think for someone like her, because she's got it so chronic, and she's worked with me in the past doing kinesiology sessions, and we're working on her skin. And I just know that if she gives it, I don't know, but I'm trusting that if she just keeps with it and doubles her dose and continues to, because she's been slathering her body with steroid cream for years, and she still uses them. And I think she relies on them to get rid of the pain. So I was just curious to know, did you stop the steroid creams cold turkey to use No? Okay.
No. I just what I did, I literally just kept doing with the steroid cream what I would do normally, which was transition it, like taper it off. So I didn't want so I just did what I would normally do when I'm trying to get him off it. And at the same time, so I would literally have I would do the gel first, then the steroid, and then the moisturizer. Not all at top, like there'd be minutes between, like 5 minutes between. Sure. But I'd still keep doing the medication, but just add in the redox and let that start healing the body, because you and that way too, when you're used to relying on something, I think it's really important to not perhaps change that, and maybe then just reduce it as she feels her skin is improving slowly. And of course, she's going to probably take a lot longer than my son, who's only 13, will. Younger constitution, and I'd encourage her to take extra dose and just stay on it and give her body a chance to heal.
Beautiful. I'm going to pass on that, because I know that she stopped her steroid cream for a week or so, and then she wasn't finding that was good for her. So I think to go, okay, step 1 is to put the redox gel on, the Renew gel on, and then use her steroid cream or moisturizer, and then have that as a system.
Yeah. Is she on the liquid as well?
She is, yes.
Yeah, good.
Yeah. So I think to get her to, she is now, because I checked in with her today, she's doubled her dose, which is great. Yeah. So I'm really, just hearing your story about your little boy was just, obviously I'm thinking of myself, because I get it too. I get inflammation in my skin. So as soon as I hear skin, my ears prick up, and I'm like, oh wow, what did you do? What system did you follow? So thank you for sharing. That really helps a lot.
Oh, you're welcome. And I think it's just not encouraging people to not give up too soon, because really my son did start on redox, was entering his body through the gel from March. And even though I give a lot of credit to the liquid, really he was on the redox for a period of time. Yeah. So tell her just to stick with it, and you too.
Will do.
Of course.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm doubling my dose. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyone else have a question for Debbie before we finish up for the night? Margot has one. Margot, we can't hear you.
I've actually got more of a question for Stuart, if that's okay, because I know a number of people with psoriasis. Are you noticing any change in your psoriasis lesions with the gel?
So I think I've been on the gel because I got the gel first. The gel's been a good month, and I think the redox has probably just been a month now. So I noticed, I've just started training again, because I wasn't really doing anything. My diet needs to be cleaned up a bit too, and it's kind of gone up and down. Like at the moment, it's quite inflamed. And if you can look, I shaved my head yesterday because I used to have hair. but I actually get psoriasis all over my probably 70-80% on my scalp. So I really wanted to, because I was using it on my scalp, but it wasn't penetrating the scalp because of my hair. So I was like, get rid of that, do it properly, and stop hiding. Like I was actually keeping it long to hide my skin. So I noticed that it goes up and down. And I think a week ago it was looking really good, and then it had a little flare up again. So it's kind of back and forth a little bit. And I think the same for Karen as well. The lady I just mentioned, hers is kind of going up and down as well. So we're kind of keeping in contact and saying, is your skin better? And I just said, look, it gets really good, and then it kind of doesn't go back to the way it was. It just has a flare up again.
Yeah.
But I'm actually, you know what? The one thing I haven't noticed is that when it gets really angry, especially on my arms, it's like I can see like little dots. I can't really explain it any better than that. And that says to me that, okay, it's really inflamed. But that hasn't happened since I've been on the gel. So I think there's something going. I think for me, I've got to take notice more, because my skin isn't the same as it was 4 or 5 weeks ago. Like 4 or 5 weeks ago, it was really, actually my knees cleared up.
Like, are you taking photos, Stuart?
Yes, I am. Yeah.
And writing notes with the photos?
No, I'm not taking notes, but I will now. I've been taking photos, but I haven't been taking notes. So thank you. I will.
Oh, because skin things just are so life absorbing.
They are. And you don't know sometimes, Stuart, you don't know how bad it could be. I'm not sure, like with your lady friend, like with, you know, as she's coming off steroids, a lot of people do report that their rashes do get worse.
Yeah.
So you just don't know how much worse could it be without the redox helping her at the same time. Because I know people who've had really bad rebounds after stopping, and they're amazed that my son didn't have the same type of rebound. And even though he was still getting some rashes and they were different, it never went to not even close to what some people experience when they stop. 13 years of steroid use really is what he's lived. Yep. So you just don't, you know, as they say, you just don't know what you're preventing. I think Nicole says that.
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you, Debbie, for sharing your experience with us. That was really, really amazing. So if you, next week on the same time, same details, we will have Sally Diamond, and she's going to be interviewing one of her clients. So Sally is the body specialist, and she has a clinic where she helps people with pain issues and physical issues and things like that. Very, very successful therapist. So she will be on next week interviewing someone about that. So you can come and have a listen to Sally, and invite your guests along to have a listen to her and her client's redox experience as well. So thank you very much, everyone.
Thanks Nicole. Yeah. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Debbie and Stuart. Great spot.